All right, today we're going to talk about one of the most controversial Ferraris ever made, and that is the 308 GT4. So why is this car so controversial? Well, until recently, it's been relatively unloved. They made 2,826 of these cars, which by Ferrari standards is a pretty high production number for back in the 70s. This car came out in late 73 as a 74 model, and it was made through 1980. So initially, when this car came out, it was badged as a Dino, and they were having trouble selling them. So by 76, the dealers were whining, and Ferrari said, okay, fine, we'll rebadge these cars and we'll call them Ferraris. So for a long time, these cars were not considered real Ferraris. Of course, if you look at the engine, a 2.9 liter masterpiece, a transverse mounted V8, all alloy, dual distributors on the early cars, 255 horsepower in European trim. It's an amazing engine, and the sound is glorious beyond all words. So the first Dino was the 206/246 model, which was a 6-cylinder variant with a rounded Pininfarina styling, and that car was quite well loved. This has a Bertone, more of an angular styling, which freaked Ferrari people out. They just didn't understand it was the first car designed by Bertone. The actual guy's name was Gandini, who designed it for Bertone Studio, and people didn't get it. This was the 70s, this is a mid-70s, and things were moving from rounded, curvaceous styling to a more angular style, until the car was later rebadged and starting in 76 as a Ferrari. It kind of sold pretty slowly. It ended up in 1980. These were the years when performance went down and not up. This car suffered from that. By the end of the run, it was down closer to 210 horsepower. So it wasn't that well loved until kind of recently, when people said, wow, these are cheap, they're cool as heck looking, and they're still pretty readily available. Let's define the word cheap here, because there are no cheap Ferraris. There are very few under $100,000. This is one of them. With really no needs, and depending on the color, these range in price from, let's say 60 to 80,000. Some have sold for less. We bought this one for considerably less than that, but it had a few needs. And we've seen them for 200,000, but that is pristine cars in a really particularly gorgeous colors. But if you've got, let's say, $75,000 budget, you can easily find a nice 308 GT4. So we've talked some about values, but what we haven't talked about is insurance. These are special cars. They need special insurance. Do not buy any of these classic cars and put them on your standard insurance policy. A, you won't have the coverage, you don't have a stated value, which means you decide what the value of the car is, and that's what they pay you if something happens. So companies like Grundy offer this kind of coverage. They understand these kind of cars, and honestly, all these insurance companies that specializes in these cars, like Grundy, the prices are less than a regular insurance company, because they know you can't drive all these cars at once, and they know you take care of them and love them. So please give Grundy a call and get a quote for your next car. Ferraris are known for being complicated and hard to maintain, and yes, all Ferraris do kind of justify that reputation. With that said, this is one of the easier, least expensive cars with the Ferrari badge to maintain. You can do a timing belt while the engine's in the car. It's not an engine out, as they say, timing belt job. The suspension and the body is all quite conventional. It has a tube frame. It's not a unibody car, but if it hasn't been hit, it's not that difficult to take care of. They had some rust issues, but probably no worse and probably better than a lot of Italian cars from the period. And Ferraris were not cheap cars ever, so they were generally cared for. They weren't throwaway cars, and people of substance seemed to buy them and take care of them and had the money to take care of them. So you don't find a lot of really bad cars. Most of them have been in collections and been pretty well taken care of, and they don't have that high a mileage. This car had about 35,000 miles when we got it earlier in the year. So from a parts standpoint, there are suppliers for these parts. We've found AW Italian, which is proven to be a great source for parts. And a lot of the parts on this car were from Fiat. And Midwest Bayless is a great source for Fiat parts. We found some parts there, but stuff like the sun visors, the door handles, and a lot of the body stuff, seat belts, they're all from a Fiat. So pretty readily available and not that expensive. Sure, the engine's a little trick, but they're known to be fairly robust if the oil's changed. The transaxles too are known to be fairly good quality and pretty robust. So, and again, the suspension, tires, wheels, that stuff's all pretty simple. This car is like no other. It looks like nothing else in my garage, and it drives like nothing else in my garage. These cars with their three-piece stash, it's so iconic. You've got your Momo steering wheel. The clutch is a little stiff. That's probably the only weak point. But these cars are so stable at speed. They're so comfortable. They rev to over 7,000 RPM. And the wail that this car makes is like no other. It is truly Ferrari magic. The gated shifter is magical. There is something to the hype on these cars, and it's hard to explain until you try it. But the minute I drove this car for the first time, I was like, oh my gosh, this thing is amazing. You know, back in the day, the setup was to take the Dino badges off and put Ferrari badges all over the thing because you needed that. Today, it's gone the other way, and the cars that have the original Dino badges are considered more desirable and more valuable. And Ferrari people who know the story get the story and love the story. So does this car deserve any stigma that it received? The answer is heck no. No, this is a really nice driving car. Remember, you got to put this into 70 standards. 75 was not a great year for cars. They were fighting with emissions. They were wrestling with bumper restrictions. But for 75, this is a pretty cool car. So we love our 308 GT4. If you can, you should look for one too. And if you like this sort of content and want to read more about this car, go to our website, classicmotorsports.com, and please like and subscribe to our channel, and we'll see you next time.
Support brands that support Classic Motorsports. Get your chemical solutions from CRC Industries. Visit crcindustries.com to learn more. If you like this video and want to see more, make sure to hit that subscribe button and like this video. And to see more stories like this, visit us online at classicmotorsports.com.